All right, good evening everyone. I'm Officer Chris Dickey, D-A-C-K-E-Y of Commerce City Police Department. I'm here to introduce our Chief, Troy Smith, to you. He will be conducting the briefing and the interview tonight. He's going to give an account of what happened today, also go over the city's or the department's plan for dealing with aggressive animals and the situation that the officers are placed in, as well as field a few questions afterward.
Good evening. My name is Troy Smith and I'm the police chief in Commerce City. At about 1:15 on September 24th, two officers were investigating a child abuse report at a residence in the 7300 block of East 82nd Avenue. While approaching the residence, the officers were charged by an aggressive, medium-sized, mixed-breed dog that came out of the house and through the front gate of the property. The dog immediately attacked one of the officers, biting him on the lower leg. The officer was unable to get the dog to disengage. The preliminary investigation indicates that the officer discharged his firearm one time, striking and killing the animal. The officer was transported to a local hospital for treatment for a dog bite injury to his leg, and he has since been released and is recovering from his injuries. Both officers involved in this incident have been placed on administrative leave per departmental procedure. The investigation into both the child abuse and the dog shooting are ongoing. The owners of the dog are fully cooperating with the investigation, and at this point, no criminal charges have been filed. I'd like to speak with you a little bit this evening about vicious animals in our community. Year to date, we have seen a 28% increase in vicious animal calls for service and a 34% increase in animal bite reports in our community over last year. I'm speaking to you tonight to address the public safety issues surrounding aggressive and vicious animals in our community and the police department's response to addressing those concerns. Our process to develop a strategy to respond to aggressive and dangerous animals in our community began in early 2013. To provide you some context to the data I will share with you tonight, there are approximately 77.5 million owned pets, dogs, in the United States. And dogs are likely to be encountered in 40% of residences or homes. As a result, police officers frequently encounter animals during the normal course of business. Most of these encounters do not result in any conflict between the animal or the officer. In the past 5 years, the years 2009 through 2013, the police department responded to 357,988 calls for service in our community. During that same time period, the department had to euthanize 4 vicious animals. So far this year, there have been 243 vicious animal calls in our community. That's compared to 176 for the same time period in 2013. Again, that represents a 28% increase in vicious animal calls for service. Our primary concern is the safety of the public, and as a result, our comprehensive plan to proactively address these concerns includes several steps. First, training. All new officers to our department receive training on how to respond to aggressive animals. Additional in-service training has been provided for all members of our department. The last training occurred in May of this year. That training specifically included the identification of vicious animals, the examples of animal body language, the reasons animals bite, and human behavior that elicits aggression from animals, and several other related topics. Policy. In the spirit of compliance with Senate Bill 13226, a new comprehensive departmental policy was created and implemented in September of this year, dealing with the care and control of animals. resources. I have recently restructured the department to double the number of officers responsible for handling animal-related calls for service by combining the duties and responsibilities of animal control agent and community service officer positions. A thorough inspection of all of our animal control equipment was conducted in 2013. That equipment was found to be in good condition and reflective of best practices and industry standards. The department has recently purchased catch poles for every police car, and we are in the process of completing training before they are deployed. Investigations. In an effort to increase transparency and build public trust and confidence in the police, we have substantially altered our investigative response and the administrative review of incidents involving animals and the use of force by police officers. Education. The department has recently completed follow-up contact at locations where previous reports of vicious animals occurred in 2014. During these contacts, the department spoke with pet owners, providing educational information and completing voluntary inspections of properties to ensure that the animals were properly contained and fences were in good repair. Shared safety and educational tips with the community members through our newsletter that went to every household in Commerce City, providing an overview of the data that I'm sharing with you tonight and some of our strategies. Enforcement. We have engaged in strict enforcement of both state and city's municipal code for animal violations that pose the greatest threat to public safety, and we will continue to do so. Data collection and monitoring. We have built robust systems in the department's technology to capture data related to animal calls for service and are comparing our data to the experiences of surrounding communities. We are in the process of establishing a data-driven work schedule for the community service officers I previously spoke of, so that they are on duty during peak times for animal-related calls for service. All of these efforts have been undertaken to increase public safety and reduce incidents of officers, residents, and pet owners encountering vicious animals. Thank you, and I will now take some questions.
Chief, can you clarify the training that your officers get and how they're supposed to handle a vicious animal incident?
Well, these are dynamic situations oftentimes, and like today, our preliminary investigation indicates that the officer had very little time to react before the dog was on him. And so each incident is very different and requires a review and an investigation to determine what the response could be. And our training included identifying behaviors in animals that would indicate that they are preparing to attack. It included behaviors in humans when approaching animals that might signal an attack to an animal. Many different things that we cover in an effort to reduce the incidence of attack between the officers who are responding and delivering service in the community and the animals that we know they are going to encounter.
In the event of a vicious animal attack, are your officers trained to kill the dog immediately?
No, the officers are not required to go through a continuum of force. All ranges of force are available to them, but we do encourage them and train them to use alternative methods of force if they have the time to react to those.
Chief, can you take us through this situation from what you know right now? There was a gate at this home and the dog went through the gate, or did the officers open the gate and go into the property?
That's part of our investigation. What I can tell you is that the shooting took place on the outside of the fence line of the property, in the sidewalk in front of the residence. Whether or not that gate was secured at this point, I can't confirm.
Was the dog at large? Will they be facing charges for an at-large dog, perhaps?
There are a number of potential municipal ordinance violations that could be charged in this case, and dog at large could be one of those charges, yes.
And the dog was shot just once?
One time.
Okay.
Why do you think you're seeing so many of these incidents in Commerce City?
Well, the data presented to you tonight would indicate that we've had a fairly significant increase in vicious dogs and in animal bites. I can't tell you at this point in time why those are up, but we can tell you that they are up. And we believe that the strategic plan that we have developed to address this has really changed our approach and become much more proactive in the community in terms of trying to handle these situations before there's an incident like today.
There, other cities in the area have laws against some vicious breeds. Does Commerce City need laws like that?
Commerce City does have a breed-specific ordinance.
We've seen 3 of these cases, 3 dogs, I should say. One was one case, 2 dogs, and then this one. Is that proof to you? I mean, does it say anything about the training that you have in place right now, that it's been active since 2013 and we still have had 3 of these incidents?
No, I think the incidents where we have applied force are tragic. They're unfortunate. But I would share with you, compared to national data, I believe that they are low, and I believe there's a strong indication that the training that we have undertaken in the last year is having an impact. Not every time an officer has been challenged or attacked by an animal is the officer forced to use force on that animal, and our training has had an impact in that area.
Can you describe the injuries to the officer? Like how many stitches did he get stitches?
As I understand it, animal bites are typically not stitched. They want the wound to remain open. And so in this case, the officer did not receive stitches. As I understand it from the emergency room doctor, the bite was deep. In fact, the doctor was very concerned that one of the teeth may have struck a bone during the course of the attack.
And did you say where the dog was shot?
I did not. The preliminary investigation would show the dog was shot in the head or neck area.
You were responding to a child abuse report. Was the suspect you were looking for at the home at the time?
No.
Who made the report of the child abuse? Where did that initiate?
At this point in time, I can't disclose that information.
Have you made contact with the suspect in that case yet?
That continues to be an open and active investigation that is ongoing at the South.
Do you know, have there been any complaints about this dog in the neighborhood before, about it being aggressive?
I'm not aware of that at this time, but that is part of our comprehensive review of the incident.
So again, it's unclear whether or not that gate, whether the dog made it through the gate or whether the officer opened the gate.
What I can share with you is that the shooting took place on the sidewalk outside the property line of the residence. Whether that gate was secured or not secured at this point in time, I don't know.
There is out in front of the home, and there's a sign that says "Beware of dog." Do your officers do anything when they see those signs? Is that part of the training?
Absolutely. Even the fence in and of itself around the front yard of a home would be a very strong indication that there are pets in that home, and the officers are trained to not only be mindful of that, but to alter their response to a residence based upon the presence of those kinds of environmental cues.
Good.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.